doing? Nice seeing you.
Hi. いいねいいねいいねアメリカンの挨拶でね。
I have one question to you. Yes. Are you terrorist?
違うよ。いや、よくお前ハグできたな。そんな疑ってるやつを。
Joke. Hey, have a nice day. Hey, bottle, please.
You shut up and don't count. Be quiet! Wait. Be quiet! Come on! I want your name!
Good morning, rise and freedom. Be quiet. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. We're going to have a great time this morning. It's Tuesday, the 31st of March. Tomorrow is the 1st of April. You know what that means. Hi, Tiffany, 6967. How are you doing, girl? Welcome to the show. We're going to have a great time today. Click the like button if you already know it's fun because you've been here before. Or maybe head on over and click that follow button. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, click the follow button. Hopefully Tiffany's not a spam bot. Glad to have everybody here. I'm AP for Liberty, and today is Tuesday, so we're going to have Camellia Petersen. Stretch out a little bit, guys. You got those aches and pains. Roll your shoulders a little bit. Rise in freedom. What would you say, guys, if I offered you a $1,000 contract to find a fraudster? Would you say no? Or would you go full dog the bounty hunter on their ass? The bounty hunter. Yeah. This is not a hypothetical. No. As of Monday, March 30th, 2026, federal government is literally doing that. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent launched a formal whistleblower reward program, paying American citizens 10 to 30% of fines recovered from healthcare and government benefits fraudsters. Oh. Dun, 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 dun. Wait. Maury Povich face. And he built it because of what happened in Minnesota, where $9 billion was allegedly stripped from children's food programs, fake autism clinics, and ghost housing service, while the officials whose job it was to stop it allegedly made sure their own employees stayed quiet about it. 63 defendants have been convicted, 5 fugitives running around somewhere in Africa, money potentially traced to Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab, 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 Shabababab. Walls was not running for re-election over it. Bessent was standing in Minneapolis calling it the most egregious welfare scam in American history and saying every state is next. Yes! Anybody want to make some money? Lie, lie, lie. Lie, 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 lie. The government is running the exact same bounty playbook on immigration at the same time. ICE is paying private contractors cash bonuses to hunt undocumented immigrants. Constellus Holdings, or Constellus, whose corporate DNA goes back to Blackwater, just signed a contract worth up to $113 million to track 1.5 million people on American soil. The former Blackwater is an ICE bounty hunter now. Geo Group, the for-profit prison company, is being paid to find the same people it will later profit from locking up. America has built 2 parallel bounty systems in the same fiscal year. Most people don't know one of them exists. Now, while all of this is happening, Mike Rowe is sitting in a data center in Plano, Texas. He's talking to 3 electricians under 30 who are making $280,000 a year with 0 debt. And they have been poached 3 times in 18 months. BlackRock just wrote a $100 million check to train more of them. Jensen Huang from NVIDIA says AI factories cannot function without pipe fitters and electricians, and America has run out of them. The kid that your guidance counselor called the consolation prize just won the whole tournament, and the system that mocked him is now writing him recruitment letters. And a Chick-fil-A in Maryland is paying people in ice cream to put their phones down for 20 minutes and look at their own family. No, I'm not kidding. I mean, I think it's funny, kind of sad, but also, I mean, good for Chick-fil-A. We're going to talk to Kimmel Petersen about that. Apparently, you have to bribe people to look at their families now. 68% of households have someone on their phone during dinner. Solo dining in the U.S. is up 52%. A chicken sandwich chain is the last institution in America actually trying to hold the family together. And they're doing it with a cardboard box and a waffle cone. So today's show, bounty hunters, billion-dollar fraud networks, the death of the 4-year degree, and Chick-fil-A saving the American family. That's today's show. Stay with us. Wake Up America show is brought to you in part by viewers and listeners like you. When you visit forlibertyshop.com and you buy wonderful items like the embroidered Betsy Ross style flag with America's 250th anniversary embroidered right onto the shirt, a beautiful polo shirt, makes a great gift for the patriotic dad in your life. I promise you they will love the patriotic 250th anniversary of America polo. Austin, where can I find these beautiful polo shirts? Well, you go to forlibertyshop.com and do it during the live show. So while you're listening to me, if we make purchases during the live show, such as one of these polos, perhaps you'd like to try a box of our delicious Founding Flavors coffee. When you make those purchases during this live broadcast, then that adds up until we hit a $100 bonus level, which is where you unlock fresh content. So instead of watching commercials, you get to watch a fun little mini documentary that we've produced, again, for the 250th anniversary of the United States. We've produced little biopics, mini biopics of heroes of the American Revolution, available for you to watch today. So head over to forlibertyshop.com during the live show. Alternatively, you can also drop Rumble rants. Donald Trump specifically carved out in the big, beautiful bill that Rumble streamers / degenerates like myself, our tips are not taxed up to $25,000. Well, at least Austin got something out of the big, beautiful bill. Yeah, well, you know, if you're going to increase the national debt, give me $25,000 of non-taxable Rumble tips. What do you say, guys? Huh? You going to give daddy some money tax-free? Or you can head over to forlibertyshop.com, and I promise you they're going to take that money out of my pocket. So it's the sales tax. So head on over to forlibertyshop.com. Let's do it. All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. Make sure you click that like button. If you guys are on spring break this week, and if you're getting some time off, congratulations. Good for you. I don't hate you, and I'm not jealous at all in any way. No way, shape, or form. Time off. But if you're like me, if you're a working man and you're here to talk and entertain and celebrate the working man, we're going to talk about Mike Rowe, dirty jobs. Oh, just a heads up, and I almost forgot. I got to reschedule some guests. But no show tomorrow because AP needs to go and save us all from the income tax. So we'll talk to Kimmel about that. Because we got a chance to overturn Missouri's income tax. So highly recommend that you guys check out my feeds tomorrow afternoon because I'll probably have some good footage for you guys. I'm going to go and testify in front of the Missouri Senate about why we need to get rid of the income tax in Missouri. So don't cry for me, Argentina, when I'm not here tomorrow. Please do continue to support the show, especially today financially, because I got to take a day off so that I can go save you guys some money on your taxes. So when I'm not working, I'm not earning, at least for now. So make sure you click that like button and follow. It's totally free.
Mike Rowe joins me now. He's the dirty jobs guy. All right, Mike, you've met with data center electricians in Texas. They're under 30 and they're making $200,000 a year. They don't have any college debt. Why do you think that some schools dismiss skilled trades as kind of a consolation prize? Why do they do that?
Two things. The electricians that I met most recently at a data center in Plano were making $260,000 a year. It's true they had no debt, but the most consequential component of that meeting was the fact that all three of them had been poached 3 times in the prior 18 months. That's what's going on in certain parts of the country in the electric game right now. It's like the draft.
Good morning, Stephen Rue. You glad to listen on spring break this week? Man, you get a spring break. Damn it, Stephen. Good for you. Congratulations. Again, not jealous at all. Looks like we sold one of our 250th anniversary polos there. Thank you very much, Jimmy Joe Patty. And we're well on the way to unlocking the bonus content. A couple more of those is all we need. All right, we're going to take you back. It's 6:28 in the morning on January 28th, 2022 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The temperature was 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Frick Park was quiet. The snow that had fallen overnight turned the ravine into something that looks like a postcard. People are starting their commutes. Kids are getting ready for school. Life seems to be all right for the people of this small town. Sounds nice. Is AP still cheerleading for war with Iran? Staff! Not talking about Iran. We'll get to that later. We're talking about what happened in Frick Park. The Fern Hollow Bridge, a 447-foot steel and concrete span built in 1970, simply falls down. It doesn't groan. It doesn't give a warning. It just falls straight into the ravine below. Cars go with it. A bus, a city bus, full of people goes with it. 10 people are injured. By the grace of God, nobody is killed. Now, here's the part where history gets its sense of humor. President Joseph Biden had flown to Pittsburgh that morning, that exact morning, January 28th, 2022. He was there to give a speech. The subject of that speech was the $1 trillion infrastructure law he had signed into law 11 weeks earlier. He was going to stand at a podium and tell America that help was on the way, that the bridges would be fixed, that the roads would be rebuilt, that Washington was going to make it all right. And while his motorcade was rolling toward the venue, a bridge fell. They redirected him. He went and stood at the edge of the collapsed Fern Hollow Bridge in his aviator sunglasses and his North Face jacket, and he looked down into the ravine where a bus was sticking out of a pile of broken concrete, and he said, and I want you to really hear this, he said the federal government would pay for the repairs and have the bridge rebuilt as fast as possible. It took 3 years. So think about that. 3 years to rebuild one bridge in one American city. And here's the question that nobody in the room with Biden that morning was equipped to answer. Not his staff, not the reporters, not the politicians standing beside him nodding all the time. The question is, where are the workers? You cannot spend $1 trillion on infrastructure if you don't have the people to spend it on and build it. You cannot rebuild a bridge with a press release alone. You cannot wire up a data center with a diversity statement. You cannot weld a submarine with a 4-year degree in communications from a school that cost your parents $250,000 and left you making $11 an hour managing a Starbucks. Me, I went to a very, very reasonable in-state school for my useless degree. No debt. So the answer to this question has been gathering for a long time. The people who could have fixed that bridge, the iron workers, the pipe fitters, the structural welders, the electricians, they were told for 30 years that they were the consolation prize, that real success went to the college track, that trade school was where you ended up, not where you started. The bridge in Pittsburgh was not a fluke. It was a report card, and America got a D. Now, let's give you the other scene. Different city, different temperature. Plano, Texas. Sometime in late 2025, a man named Mike Rowe walks into a data center. You know, we all know Mike Rowe, the man who's been crawling through sewage and castrating lambs on television for 20 years. The man who's been saying the trades are dying and it's going to be a catastrophe since 2008, while every think tank in America was busy writing papers about the knowledge economy. He walks into this data center. This is one of these massive humming buildings that looks like a maximum security prison that's designed by someone who really loved cooling units. And he meets 3 electricians, 3 guys, all under 30. None of them have student debt. 0. Not a payment, not a deferment, not a call from Sally Mae at dinner time. Nothing. All 3 are making somewhere between $240,000 and $280,000 a year before overtime. And they have as much overtime as they want. And all three of these guys had been poached 3 separate times in the previous 18 months. Rose said it's like the draft in the major leagues. Companies are fighting over these guys the way franchises fight over a generational pitcher, except these guys didn't need an agent. They just needed to know which end of a conduit bender to hold. 280 grand, under 30, 0 debt, actively recruited. So I want you to think about your college roommate who got the philosophy degree and is currently asking if you want to hear about his newsletter. And then think about these 3 guys and then sit with that for a moment. Mike Rowe took the story. He ran with it. He was on Fox Business. He's been all over the place telling the story. He told it on News Nation, Marin Magazine, which for the record, that's a publication that primarily covers wine pairings and home renovation in one of the wealthiest zip codes in California. And even they apparently looked up from their Chardonnay long enough to realize something had changed. Oh, Muffy. But the room that mattered was March 11th, 2026, Washington, D.C., the BlackRock Infrastructure Summit. Now, Mike Rowe sits down on stage next to Larry Fink, which if you don't know who Larry Fink is, he's the chairman and CEO of BlackRock. This is a company that manages $14 trillion in assets. He's got the whole evil billionaire thing going on. $14 trillion bucks. If you spent $1 million a day since the birth of Jesus Christ, you would still not have spent $14 trillion. And Larry Fink sat down with the dirty jobs guy and said, he's right, we have a crisis. And at that summit, BlackRock announced it was putting $100 million into skilled trades training. They called it Future Builders. When the largest asset manager in human history writes a $100 million check to train plumbers and electricians, that is not a charitable impulse. That is Larry Fink doing math and realizing that the single biggest threat to his entire investment portfolio is the fact that America decided for 3 decades that shop class was for losers. So let me explain how this happened, because this was not an act of God. This was a policy. This was a choice. This was decades of institutions all pointing in one direction, like the world's most expensive weather vane. We all fell for it, many of us, not all of us, many of us, maybe most of us. I did. Go to college, 4 years, liberal arts if possible, maybe a master's. Take the loans. Don't worry about the loans. The degree will pay for itself. Have you considered a minor in sociology? You do not want to end up like the people who didn't go to college, right? Those people work with their hands. Those people, they smell like job sites. Those people are fine, just, not for you. You're better than that. Mike Rowe said this at the BlackRock Summit in a line that deserves to be engraved somewhere important. He said, when we put our thumb on the scale for one form of education, we implicitly suggested that anyone with the temerity to embark upon a different path was indeed the proud owner of something second class. The electrician, second class. The welder, second class. The iron worker who built the building that your guidance counselor sat in while telling you that trade school was a lesser option, second class. And here's the consequence, and I want you to really appreciate the scale of this comedy of errors. The result of 30 years of telling kids that college was the only legitimate path was, are you ready? $1.7 trillion in student debt sitting on the books right now, today. It's a number so large that if you stacked it in $100 bills, it would reach the moon and have enough left over to fund a gender studies department on the way back. Rowe's line on the cost of college is the kind of thing that sounds like, this is just punditry until you actually check the data and realize this is the math. So Rowe said at the BlackRock Summit, nothing in the history of Western civilization has gotten more expensive more quickly than a 4-year degree. It's not to say it's not valuable per se, but I mean nothing, not real estate, not healthcare, not energy. JP Morgan Asset Management checked this, and their analysis confirmed that between 1983 and 2025, college tuition outpaced every single other household expense in America. Every one. Not healthcare, not housing, not the price of a steak in Manhattan restaurants where the waiters have communications degrees. College tuition, fastest growing cost in the country. And we federally subsidized the whole thing through a loan program that made it easier to borrow money for an art history degree than it was to start a small business. And now, for the least funny side of this story, the supply side math, it's the least funny part, except for how completely avoidable this all was. For every 5 tradespeople who retire today, 2 come in to replace them. 5 go out, 2 come in. And that ratio is held for over 10 years. Shop classes have been closed. Vocational programs were defunded. Guidance counselors were essentially trained as college admissions salespeople with a side hustle and shame. And the pipeline for people who know how to build things quietly collapsed while everybody was very busy arguing about campus politics. The Bureau of Labor Statistics now projects, I think, 9% growth in skilled trade jobs from 2024 to 2034. 81,000 jobs will be created a year, and we do not have the people to fill them or the pipeline to back it up. We told an entire generation of capable people that they were the consolation prize, and a surprising number of them believed us, which in retrospect was our problem, not theirs. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm your host, Austin Petersen. Excuse me. We're going to talk about the demand side of this story in just a moment. If you haven't already, please click the like button. If you are liking us and if you are following us, we're truly grateful for that. Remember, you can always get in contact with the For Liberty Network through the show line. Best way is to send us a text, 573-319-1586. That's a Google number, just FYI. So if you call it, it will sometimes in some windows send a call to my phone, but for the most part, we'll always get your text messages, and then we'll always have a record of our conversations just for business purposes. Because if, say, you ordered the 250th anniversary polo and you're wondering where it is, maybe you didn't get your tracking, you can always just text that show line, and we can have a good tracker on wherever your product is. So you can text us for any reason for the shop or the show. That's one line, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586.
Leagues. For the second part of your question, I'll tell you this. 16 years ago this month, I was in D.C. I testified before both houses of Congress about the need for some kind of national effort to reinvigorate the trades. That was the first time I said those words out loud, along with the phrase, we have to stop categorizing an entire chunk of our workforce as people who have won some vocational consolation prize, because that's what we did. When we put our thumb on the scale for one form of education, right, a university 4-year degree, when we said that was the best path for the most people, we implicitly suggested that anyone with the temerity to embark upon a different path was indeed the proud owner of something second class. That's when the wheels started to come off the bus. I can't believe it's been 16 years, but the chickens have come home to roost for sure.
They certainly had. All right, guys. So let's talk about
Mike Rowe joins me now.
Let's talk about the demand side of this one here, because this is where this story kind of stops. It leaves the realm of ironic, and it starts being genuinely alarming. Steph, welcome back to the show. I know you're mad at me. She says, I manage UN mandated documentation for food safety at work, among many other things, chemicals too. Got a small raise recently, sanitation, chemicals, maintenance. Another, sounds like a dirty job. You and Mike Rowe would be friends. Let's talk about the demand side, though, of this story. I think this is, things are genuinely alarming on this one. Larry Fink, you know, BlackRock, he's been making the same warning in urgent language. He went to CERAWeek, which is this big energy conference that they have in Houston, where serious people in expensive suits discuss the civilization, the future of civilization. And he said, quote, I've even told members of the Trump team that we're going to run out of electricians, that we need to build out AI data centers. We just don't have enough. He told the Trump administration, he said, he went into the building and said, I need a minute. The AI boom you're also excited about, right? The data centers, the energy grids, this whole magnificent machine. We're going to slam into a wall. And the wall is not a lack of money. The wall is a lack of people who know how to wire the building. And then Jensen Huang, he's the CEO of NVIDIA. Those are the people who make those chips where you see those green stickers on your laptops. One of the most valuable companies in the world, maybe the most valuable, is it? In the world, the chip company that basically runs the world. A man whose company is worth more than most countries, essentially. He published a blog in March, and he wrote, quote, the labor required to support this build out is enormous. AI factories need electricians, plumbers, pipe fitters, steel workers, network technicians, installers, and operators. The man who makes the chips that power the AI is publicly asking where the plumbers are. So we've reached the part of the technological revolution where the most advanced computing infrastructure in human history cannot function without someone who knows how to sweat a copper fitting, which, again, you could not pitch this as a film. It's a comedy, but it's also a horror movie, but also it's real. Yikes. Hey, Luddick, thanks so much for that gift sub. Maria Edenbow. Boy, if anybody deserves it, she certainly does. So here are the numbers, guys, and this is not editorial. This is just the numbers. More than 300,000 new electricians will be needed over the next decade just for AI-driven demand. That's on top of 200,000 electricians expected to retire in the same window. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers say that electrical work makes up 45 to 70% of total data center construction costs. The automotive industry needs more than 100,000 skilled workers immediately, not eventually. They need it right now. The maritime industrial base, the shipyards, they're looking for 400,000 workers. BlackRock's own portfolio companies that they're invested in, they need 400 to 500,000 electricians just within their investments. McKinsey estimates the total investment required to scale AI data center infrastructure through 2030. It's going to cost $6.7 trillion. So that's the combined GDP of Japan and Germany for one sector in 4 years. Do we even have the energy for all this? For God's sakes. All of this, though, it requires people with tool belts, not communications degrees. Meanwhile, and this is the part where Larry David would play his Curb Your Enthusiasm music, the unemployment rate among recent college graduates ages 22 to 27 is now 5.6%, according to the Fed. So Fink himself stood at the infrastructure summit, and he said he's worried the class of 2026 could face the highest unemployment rate among graduates in years, even without a recession. So to summarize the current situation, companies are desperately begging for workers and cannot find them. The demand is insanely high. And college graduates are desperately looking for jobs and cannot find them at the same time, in the same country, simultaneously. That's like a comedy sketch that nobody finds funny because it is their actual life. Demand for robotics technicians is up 107%. HVAC engineers, 67%. Data center construction workers already average $81,800 a year, 32% above comparable roles in other industries. These people could be rich. They could find each other. Mike Rowe's foundation applications jumped tenfold in the past year alone. The audience has figured it out. The institutions are not getting the memo. which is, of course, very on brand for institutions. So on March 25th, 2026, Mike Rowe goes on Varney and Company on Fox Business. He gives this really great interview. Perfectly normal, trades good, debt bad, build things, God bless America, standard Mike Rowe content. But then Stuart Varney later on brings up Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, the Democratic Socialist, the man who's been wearing the same mittens since 1987, the man whose central life argument is that corporations are evil, billionaires should not exist, blah, blah, blah. And he said this while sitting across from a Fox Business host on a show largely funded by people that are, billionaires. Mike Rowe says, yeah, on this one, he's right. Not about everything. Now, Rowe didn't go full Vermont. He didn't demand we seize the means of conduit production. But on the central point that a revolution is coming, that AI is reshaping every assumption about work and wages and who actually matters in this economy, Mike Rowe looked at the camera and essentially said Bernie clocked it. And look, when Mike Rowe and Bernie Sanders agree at something, you're probably not looking at politics. You're looking at reality that has become impossible to ignore, even for people who agree on everything else. Then Dinah Powell McCormick, she's the president and vice chairman of Meta. That's the company that owns Facebook and Instagram and hates us. They stood at the BlackRock Infrastructure Summit and said, I do think we have to reframe the question that the dream is just to graduate from college. The dream is to have a great paying job. So Meta, their parent company, is building the Hyperion data center. That's a single facility that's projected to be 4 times the size of Manhattan Central Park. They can't find enough electricians to wire it. So Mark Zuckerberg has also pledged $600 billion in U.S. infrastructure by 2028, and he needs iron workers to do it. Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan was also at the BlackRock Summit. She said, quote, infrastructure, fix the damn roads. It's about affordability. So a Michigan Democrat, a libertarian trade advocate, the world's largest asset manager, a Silicon Valley billionaire, and a Democratic socialist from Vermont who owns 3 houses and champions the working class, all looking at the same problem and arriving at the same conclusion. America broke the pipeline and the bills due. The alignment on this is so unusual, it shouldn't itself be a headline. It's not partisan. This isn't ideological. This is arithmetic. And arithmetic, as Mike Rowe himself said at that summit, is not on our side. See you later, Steph. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out. Glad you're not mad at me. See Will Run Riot, see BH North, see all of our friends of Liberty over at the comment section on Rumble. What's up, Maria Edenbo? We're so glad you're here. Will Run Riot. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this topic. Someone I saw made a comment about that recently, but it like got deleted, or I can't find it. Somebody was saying how much they enjoyed this topic. I wanted to share their comment with you guys. It's hard to do the show and then monitor the stream and then read your comments. Amy was saying, my dad was an electrician in St. Louis. And as a member of the union, my mom got to be a stay-at-home mom because of the job. It's not just a consolation prize. You actually have to take classes. Very true, yes. Great comment, Amy. Jimmy Joe Patty says, my daughter works in property management on fancy New York City office buildings. A few months ago, she became interested in hands-on work involving HVAC. It looks like her secondary skill may end up in more demand. That's cool, Jimmy. Hell yeah. A lot of great comments over there, guys. I'm sorry I can't monitor them all. Oh, there's Lou Diamonds. What's up, Lou? He says, I love this topic, Austin. I went to vocational technical high school. My dad's an electrician, brother's an electrician, got into avionics in the Navy. When I got out, I've never been without. Good for you, dude. That's great, man. Ruby is in the school districts. He says, yeah, spot on. School districts are adjusting and offering many programs towards those jobs. That's awesome. Steven, glad you're here, dude. Love seeing everybody. Hey, Luddick, thanks so much for the gift subs for everybody. I bet you Steven is going to get one of those. Thank you so much for your generosity, man. It really means a lot. When we're well on the way to unlocking the bonus content. It's 69 degrees outside. Good morning, pineapples. Let me tell you a secret. Had another dusting of snow overnight. God.
Oh, God.
So sick of it.
God, please, no, no.
Where are you at, Peter the Great, that you had a little dusting of snow? Looking very good to very nice. Trey, okay. Feeling very okay. Man, you guys are just being super generous this morning. Thanks so much for visiting the For Liberty shop earlier, Jimmy Joe Patty. I got a question for you guys. Do you love America? Then you need to visit forlibertyshop.com. Do it right now. All your purchases add up. Once we hit $100 raise, that'll unlock our mini documentary. We're celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States. And this collection is only available for a limited time because the 250th anniversary is right now, folks. We're celebrating the Boston Tea Party. Stephanie and I are even taking a group of you guys to Boston so very soon. Really just 30 days. We're going to be in Manchester, New Hampshire, and then in Boston for the first conference of libertarian nationalists. That's going to be in Manchester, New Hampshire. We're really proud. Really, we are very proud of the 250th anniversary collection, and Stephanie has just done such a wonderful job. My sweetheart of a wife, just supporting me in everything that she does in every way, and she's so patient with me when I am so impatient sometimes, you know. But she just toils away. She's my little Dolly Madison. You know why? Look at what she made. The Betsy Ross flag with the 250 on there, the beautiful double-sided flag. Thank you, Steffi. Head on over to forlibertyshop.com and check out our 250th anniversary collection, guys. Let's party like it's 1776, 250 years of American greatness. Check out all the amazing products that Stephanie has made for us. You can see on the front page specifically the 250th anniversary collection and all the details about the Boston tour. But the latest product drops like our Give Me Coffee or Give Me Death or our new Libertarian Nationalist merch. I got to get me one of these hats. Pa-ching, pa-ching. Head on over to forlibertyshop.com, make those purchases during the live show, and unlock that sweet, sweet bonus content. Let's do it. So let's go back to this. You guys like the micro topic? Let's continue on this micro topic. Let's go back to Pittsburgh because that's where the whole thing started, and this is where it ends. The Fern Hollow Bridge fell at 6:28 in the morning, and by noon, the president was standing on the edge of the ravine, promising a fast rebuild. $1 trillion allocated. It had the full national spotlight. The full political will was engaged, and it took 3 years. That is not a construction problem. That is a workforce problem, dressed up in permitting delays and supply chain language and federal contracting bureaucracy. But at its core, a workforce problem. You cannot rebuild what you cannot staff, and you cannot staff what you spent 30 years telling young people to avoid. Nobody in that scene, not one person, stood up and said the obvious thing to President Biden, which is that we built a system that treated the people who build bridges as second-class citizens, and now we are confused that bridges are falling down and nobody is available to fix them quickly. That's not an infrastructure problem. That is a consequences problem. And consequences, unlike politicians, do not respond to press conferences. Mike Rowe's line from the BlackRock Summit is one that I'm going to keep coming back to. He said, quote, "We have to stop categorizing an entire chunk of our workforce as people who have won some vocational consolation prize." That was the message that was baked into 3 decades of education policy and cultural signaling, federal loan incentives. You chose the trades? Oh, honey, that's fine. Really, you tried your best. Here's your certificate. We're so proud of you for participating. And the consolation prize winners are now sitting in Plano, Texas, making $280,000 a year, under 30, debt-free, recruited by multiple corporations, while the kid who got the actual prize, the diploma, the regalia, right? The silly Instagram photos and the cap and gown. He's at 5.6% unemployment, submitting his 47th job application to a company that's going to have an AI scan his resume and reject him in 4 seconds. The market is not sentimental. The market does not care about your hippy-dippy prestige hierarchy that 40 years of college marketing built. The market looks at the world and asks one question: what do you actually need to make this work? And right now, the answer is the person in the hard hat. And that person is not available because we told an entire generation of potential hard hat wearers that they were settling. Mike Rowe said something on Varney that's clean and accurate. When you show people a straight path to an AI-proof 6-figure job that doesn't require any debt, they listen. AI-proof, 6 figures, no debt. That's the whole brief. That's the entire counter-argument to 30 years of education policy in 11 words. The safest job in America right now is not the one that required the most debt to get. It's the one that the debt machine told you was beneath you. Mike Rowe's been saying this since 2008, since before iPhones were a thing, since before most of the people currently applying to his foundation were old enough to drive. He's been saying this for 17 years, and the institutional response to him back then was to pat him on the head and book him for another segment and then go back to doing exactly what they were doing. But now it's not that way anymore. Larry Fink is writing him checks. Jensen Huang is publicly asking where the plumbers are, and BlackRock just acquired a data center company for $40 billion that's partnering with the Mike Rowe Works Foundation because they literally cannot find enough certified elections to keep the servers running. The system that called the trades the consolation prize is now begging the consolation prize winners to come build their future. And Mike Rowe, to his enormous credit, I love the guy. He's not gloating much. He's just standing there in the rubble of a 30-year policy failure saying what he's always said. The bridge in Pittsburgh fell because we stopped investing in the people who build bridges and convinced ourselves that a country could function indefinitely on credentials and debt, and the vague promise that the knowledge economy would work out for anybody and everybody. It didn't, because now we need 500,000 electricians, 100,000 automotive workers, 4,000 maritime workers, and $6.7 trillion worth of infrastructure built by 2030. And the people who could do it were told for 3 decades they're the ones who didn't make it. The consolation prize winners are now the most valuable workers in America. The system that mocked them is writing checks to Mike Rowe, trying to figure out where to find more of them somewhere in Plano, Texas. 3 guys under 30 with no debt, more overtime than they know what to do with. They're having a very good spring break. Congratulations. Congratulations to those very rich guys in Plano, Texas, who got their degrees in the skilled trades.
I'm proud to be a midget. The only thing more intense than my midget pride is my hate for tall people, or as we like to call them, biggers. Small power! Small power! Small power!
Wait a minute. I think that was the wrong clip. As we like to call them, biggers. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. Hey, guys. 105 people on Rumble. You guys are too kind. Too kind. Thanks so much for sticking around this morning. Thanks so much for supporting the Wake Up America Show. We've got lots more content and guests for you. If you guys stick around until 8, about 12 minutes from now, we're going to have Camellia Petersen. I'm really looking forward to having Camellia on the Wake Up America Show and sharing with you all of her POV. Tomorrow, FYI, no Wake Up America Show because I'm going to go testify for abolishing Missouri's income tax. What do you guys say? Cecilia says, my giant fiance loves sending me this video. Height differences of 1.4 feet-ish. Good morning, Frank and Beans. Frank, we've been looking all over for you. Booby, baby. Brad, Frank is here. Honestly, I've been trying to get in touch with you and not about your car warranty. Frank and Beans, I want to talk to you, please. Frank and Beans, will you please do us a favor? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We got some questions for you, Brad and I do. So if you wouldn't mind, hit us up at that show line. That's 573-319-1586, and we'd be very grateful for that. Thank you, Jimmy Joe Patty, for ordering the 250th anniversary polo, the one I'm wearing right now. Isn't it beautiful? Does the income tax abolition need someone to testify for it? It's pretty obvious the right thing. You would think so, bud, but unfortunately, we do have Democrats in this state.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Thank you, Norm Macdonald. Watch your language. Yeah, we do have to fight every inch for liberty, even in a red state like Missouri. There are plenty of rhino Republicans who are not on our side. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to talk this morning a little bit about the snitching program that we have for not only illegal immigrants in this country, but also we have one for turning in people who commit welfare fraud. This is an interesting news story, and I don't have enough time to to get through the whole thing. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to take a quick little commercial break. We're almost to the bonus content, guys. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to start the commercials and then go get Camellia. And I think what will happen is somebody's going to go over to forlibertyshop.com and they're going to buy a t-shirt or a box of coffee or whatever. And looks like Steelbringer just made another contribution. So I'm going to make a guess that we're going to unlock the bonus content during this commercial break. So why don't you guys head over to do it? We just need to raise like another $20 or so. And let's unlock the bonus content and I'll play it for you as soon as it gets unlocked. And then Camellia will be on right after that. Okay, sound good? In a city where businesses never sleep, the technology still crashes. When technology turns criminal, they send up the signal. He's not a myth, and he's definitely not your nephew who knows computers. He installs, he protects, he backs it up, he keeps your business online and out of trouble. Managed IT, security, cloud, support that actually answers the phone. Layer 8 tech. When your network breaks, he wakes. Call Drew before your tech needs a rescue signal. George Washington spent 8 years making sure nobody knew where he was. Troop movements, secret dispatches. The man was a ghost. So when a barista leaned out a window and asked for his exact location in exchange for points they called stars, he looked at his flag and said, "I've already got my stars. 13 of them. Keep your dignity and your location intact. Grab a box of Washington's Revolutionary Roast at forlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government. Get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
The left in America tells us not to have kids to save the planet, but in Cuba, they stopped having kids because the state destroyed the earth.
Collectivism doesn't create justice. It creates shortages, corruption, and power for the few. I've not just seen it, I've lived it. My family escaped it. Now, the same failed ideas are being sold to a new generation. I'm here to expose the lie and defend liberty. From Cuba to Argentina to the United States, the freedom movement is rising. Cafecito Libre is the exile voice of economic truth. Cafecito Libre, premiering March 3rd as part of the For Liberty Network, only on Rumble.
In the fortress town of Magdeburg, Prussia, on September 17, 1730, a boy entered the world destined to whip a ragged rebel army into a fighting force that could stand against the might of Britain. Friedrich Wilhelm Ludolf Gerhard Augustin von Steuben, later known to Americans as Baron von Steuben, was the son of a Royal Prussian military engineer. At 17, he joined the Prussian army, fought like a demon through the brutal 7 Years' War under Frederick the Great, rose to captain, served on the general staff, and learned the iron discipline and precise maneuvers that made Prussian troops the terror of Europe. Wounds, scandals, and peacetime left him unemployed and nearly broke by his mid-40s. But across the Atlantic, a revolution was calling. In 1777, with help from Benjamin Franklin in Paris, the out-of-work Prussian officer offered his sword to the American cause. He sailed from France in September aboard a ship paid for by the French government, bringing his Italian greyhound Azor, a French cook, aides, and a burning desire for glory and pay after the war. He landed in Portsmouth, New Hampshire in December, then made his way south through cheering crowds who saw in him a polished European general. On February 23, 1778, the stocky, fur-robed baron rode into the frozen hell of Valley Forge. What he found horrified him. Nearly 12,000 Continental soldiers huddled in crude log huts, half-naked, starving, dying of disease and exposure. No uniform drill, no standard commands, no sanitation, no discipline. Muskets were handled like farm tools, bayonets were decoration. Men drilled according to 3 different manuals, or not at all. Washington greeted the volunteer warmly and made him temporary Inspector General. Steuben wasted no time. He chose 100 of the smartest, toughest men from the Commander-in-Chief's Guard and began drilling them personally on the snowy parade ground. No translator could keep up with his thunderous Prussian oaths, so he swore in French, German, and broken English while his aides translated. He simplified the manual of arms from dozens of complex movements to just 10 essential ones. He taught them to march in step at 120 paces per minute, to load and fire faster, to form lines and columns instantly, and, most importantly, to charge with the bayonet like Prussian veterans. He cursed, demonstrated, laughed, raged, and drilled until the model company moved like one machine. Then he sent them out to train the rest of the army in cascading waves. Day after day through snow and mud, the Baron stomped across the frozen fields, sleeves rolled up, showing officers and enlisted men alike how real soldiers fought. He also attacked the filth and waste that killed more men than British bullets. He laid out proper camp sanitation, reorganized supply lines, and wrote the first standard regulations for the Continental Army. With help from aides like Pierre Duponceau and Benjamin Walker, and illustrations by Pierre-Charles L'Enfant, he produced regulations for the order and discipline of the troops of the United States, the famous Blue Book. Congress approved it in 1779, and it guided the U.S. Army through the War of 1812. The results came fast. In May 1778, the Army paraded smartly to celebrate the French alliance. When they marched out of Valley Forge in June, they were no longer a mob of farmers, they were soldiers. At the Battle of Monmouth on June 28th, the disciplined Continentals stood toe-to-toe with British regulars in brutal heat, trading volleys and charges that would have broken the old army. Steuben's bayonet training proved decisive later at Stony Point, where American troops stormed British works with unloaded muskets and cold steel alone. Steuben served as Inspector General and Washington's trusted advisor for the rest of the war. He trained troops in the South under Nathaniel Greene, commanded a division at the Siege of Yorktown in 1781, and watched Cornwallis's redcoats march out to surrender. His steady hand helped turn raw courage into professional victory. After the war, Congress granted him land and a modest pension, but never the fortune he hoped for. He retired to a farm in the Mohawk Valley of New York, never married, and died there on November 28, 1794. He was buried with military honors. Baron von Steuben was no flawless saint and no towering battlefield hero. He swore like a Prussian drill sergeant, exaggerated his rank for dramatic effect, and loved the good life. But when the American army was on the brink of collapse in that frozen winter of 1778, this stout, fiery European volunteer marched onto the parade ground, cursed in 3 languages, and forged a rabble into an army. From the snows of Valley Forge to the smoke of Yorktown, his Blue Book and iron discipline helped win a revolution and gave the United States its first professional military foundation. The drill echoes still. Every time an American soldier snaps to attention or charges with the bayonet, the ghost of the old Prussian baron is marching right beside him. George Washington spent 8 years making sure nobody knew where he was. Troop movements, secret dispatches. The man was a ghost. So when a barista leaned out a window and asked for his exact location in exchange for points they called stars, he looked at his flag and said, "I've already got my stars. 13 of them. Keep your dignity and your location intact. Grab a box of Washington's Revolutionary Roast at 4libertyshop.com.
And then can I also have barbecue sauce, or do you have like a buffalo sauce? No Chick-fil-A sauce? No Chick-fil-A sauce. Lemonade, all right.
I didn't know that
also
Jeffrey
have
Epstein
barbecue
worked
sauce,
at Chick-fil-A. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, Frank and Beans. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. So glad and thankful to have you here. You know I'm still fighting for liberty in places like Missouri. You might think, oh, it's a red state. Everything is fine. Well, it's not fine. We have to fight for our rights just like anybody else. We'll talk about that with my next guest in just a moment. But I want to talk about the feel-good story of the week. You guys are all out enjoying your lives, having a spring break. I have no idea what that is. Never had a spring break in my life. I was one of the people who was like, oh, Austin, how was spring break this year? We just got back from Cancun. And I was like, I was typing age, sex, location onto AOL Instant Messenger when I was growing up. So, but here's the feel-good story. A Chick-fil-A in Towson, Maryland went viral for offering families a free ice cream cone if they lock their phones in a box for an entire meal. Joining me now via Zoom, the sharp and always engaging, the lovely Miss Camelia Petersen here live with us. Hi, CJ.
Good morning.
So, Camelia, I love this. Chick-fil-A, but it's kind of sad. Chick-fil-A will give us ice cream if we'll talk to our families. Your thoughts?
I mean, a little cultural positive reinforcement never hurt anyone, right? I mean, good for Chick-fil-A. This is really on brand for them.
It's voluntary. It harms nobody. But it is kind of something that we need, isn't it?
Sure. I mean, when I'm thinking about, how the phones consume so much of what we do, and like you're sitting there together and everybody's looking at their phones, right? But I also am a little optimistic because I do see things like what Chick-fil-A is happening. Like there's a lot more people talking about the need to get off your phones and be present in person. And I hear motivational speakers talking about in clips on Instagram about how that, if you're talking to someone and they're listening to you, but they're also looking down at your phone, like you don't feel like they're really listening to you. So there is we are having, I think, this growing, hopefully cultural self-awareness of how we need to handle our phones and, and proper etiquette with other people in person. So I think we're getting there. I think things like Chick-fil-A is doing is adding to that.
Chick-fil-A has kind of leaned into their role as a shaper of culture, which is in some ways beautiful and wonderful because it's a part of the free market. And then in other ways, it's kind of disgusting in a strange, bizarre, capitalistic, social engineering.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. Chick-fil-A at least is not like other companies where they go out and they
at least they have the right morals.
Well, right, but they're also actually not out there overtly making some political statement, right? Or anything like that. They're doing things in a positive way that isn't throwing, their philosophy or their beliefs in everybody's face.
Yes, and their pickles don't touch, just like God intended. Now, I stopped eating fast food. I had to for a good reason. I've lost 15 pounds. Chick-fil-A was an unhealthy obsession for a brief period. I've since moved on to chicken salads. But the problem with fast food I see in American culture is that it's really struggling to define itself. Chick-fil-A does a really great job. I'll say that they probably are the best at it, at injecting themselves into culture. And, I think a lot of Americans are saying, why do we need these places? Because honestly, we only went to fast food places recently because we got gift cards to go. For the most part, we try and avoid them just for health reasons, but also because it's so dang expensive, Camellia.
Yeah.
I do know a lot of people who still eat out a lot, but frankly, it's gotten to the point where I think it's cheaper to make food at home, and the quality has really come down. I don't know if that's the case for Chick-fil-A because, again, I stopped eating it a long time ago, but I don't know about you. I know you're on the road a lot. You probably have to eat fast food more often than the average person, don't you, CJ? It's expensive.
It is, and I avoid it just because you never feel good afterwards. It's almost all now. To be honest, Chick-fil-A is probably the one exception to that, but I can't eat Chick-fil-A every time. I love a spicy deluxe sandwich, but I can't so. But the thing is you almost never feel good afterward. And I saw something just the other day about how that restaurants on the market are tanking, their shares are tanking, and but what they were looking at are your traditional chain restaurants. And I really think a big part of that is that people are more and more looking for something different. They don't like the old chains anymore. They're looking for the local food. They're looking for different flavors, more fresh flavors. And so I think you're seeing a real shift in how we approach restaurants and food in general. And I think that applies to fast food as well. I know I will, if Felicity and I are out in town and we're like, oh, gosh, we need to get something to eat. I know she's okay with Taco Bell, but I would rather go, and if we don't want to go sit down somewhere, I'm like, let's just go home because it's just not worth it. I mean, I would rather sit down and get some decent food and have to wait a little longer. But if I don't want to have to wait that long, I'm just going to go find something at the house.
Yeah, for sure. I still have a hankering every once in a while for Dairy Queen. But I eat once your eating habits have to change once you reach your advanced age, like myself. And so I think about food in a different way than I did when I was young, and it didn't matter what I ate. But also, it used to be when you went to Taco Bell, Camellia, when we went to the Taco Bell in the 90s, you could buy tacos for like a quarter. Maybe it wasn't a quarter, but it was so cheap. It was so affordable. So Cecilia was saying here in the chat is that the the price has gone up and the quality has come down, and we're just more health conscious. So
I think so too.
I feel like fast food used to have a sort of a stranglehold on the American psychology that it's starting to lose. They're not losing market share per se yet, but I think they are starting to lose a hold on our psychology. Chick-fil-A is doing a pretty good job at sort of like meeting the moment in a way, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that they push also the healthy options that they have too right now. I mean, like, you know, I don't know about you, but probably if I'm going to go to a fast food restaurant, I'm not looking for their salad.
Right.
But, you know, I think Chick-fil-A has done a good job of giving like good options that aren't like your typical, you know, fast food salad that's, you know, kind of gross and whatever. So, yeah, I think that they're doing this all, though, in a positive way and in a way that makes people think, it makes them laugh. And I think that that's really what it is. It's not, you know, you remember it was the Arby's that had all the commercials with the hot women or whatever and the big juicy hamburgers and whatever. Like, I don't think we're there anymore.
Yeah. You know what my secret is to getting healthier is finding food that is really good, that is delicious food, that is healthy, and really focusing in on those things that you really love, that just happen to be really good for you. And one of the biggest things that was such a relief for me, you know, having seen health trends change throughout my lifetime, has been seeing that protein, meat, has really come to the forefront as a quality food that is healthy for you. Because when I was a kid, Camelia, you might remember this. I remember them saying that eggs were unhealthy because of cholesterol, and we didn't know the difference between good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. And of course, meats, which just so happened to coincide with the leftist framework. I mean,
red meat's going to give you a heart attack, right?
Yes. We used to think it was going to give you a heart attack. Now, I think probably too much red meat there might be some some downsides to too much red meat. You want to have like white meat in there, but like, you know, good chicken, you know, gotta make a good chicken dish, good fresh white meat. I used to think that pork chops, like the white pork chops or like the other white meat, that there was like some good health benefits there. But it turns out if you're looking for calorie loss, then you can't really go for pork because it's so fatty, but it's delicious. It's not necessarily all that bad for you. It's just too high in calories.
Well, you know, I think the pattern what we're seeing now is like we've seen in our food culture and diet culture, you know, over the last, 30, 40 years, we've seen these swings back and forth. You have vegetarianism, and then you have carnivore, like all these extreme measures. And you had the government telling us that you should be eating, of everything that you're eating, you should be eating grains the most. And so, you know, can you remember like growing up? I mean, this was just like the mentality that was ingrained. And to a certain extent, part of this was if you grew up in poverty, you know, bread was, you know, one of the cheapest things you can eat. But, you know, growing up, like my parents were aghast if there was not bread at a meal. And so, you know, when I'm an adult, I'm not doing bread. And they're like, where's the bread? But you know, the thing is I think, and then we have people tell you, oh, all carbs are bad. Don't eat any carbs. So I think we're finally at that point where they're like, you know what? You do need carbs. You should eat those potatoes, right? I mean, they are good for you, but balance is key.
Well, even potatoes are good for you because we think potatoes are bad because we eat potato chips and we eat like potato products where they starch it up and they make it, you know, they deep fry it in oil. But a good fresh potato, even with some sour cream, butter, and cheese and things like that, you're not going crazy. The fiber that you get from the potato itself is what is filling. It fills you up, and it's actually a good healthy food if you eat it the right way. If you eat a steak, so like now, I love that we're talking about diets right now. You know, I'll have, protein in the morning. I'll have some cottage cheese, some eggs or whatever, then maybe some oatmeal. And for lunch, I'll have a protein shake or like a salad. But then for dinner, a giant steak, a baked potato. You're so happy at the end of the day, you're starving and you can like munch on a giant steak and a potato and be perfectly healthy. But a lot of people didn't know it because, again, we were taught eat grains, eat cereals. Dude, I had a bowl of cereal this weekend and I blew up like a puffer fish. Gained 3 pounds. There's a lot of sugar packed into those grains.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man. So, Camelia, I didn't mean to get off topic on this one, but all this to say just that, Chick-fil-A has, I think, done a good job at being a positive cultural force. And they are giving away ice cream for, putting their phones away. But I do feel like a yearning in the United States for real interactions where we're not on our phones. And I think we're going to actually see more things like this, where you're going to have like family fun centers that the phones have to go out. And I think that would be a good thing. I mean, you know me, I'm addicted to the damn thing, but I mean, I work online. So it's like, unfortunately, I'm like the guy in the Matrix, they're taking all the juice out of my body to feed the machines. Unfortunately, is the machine feeding me, or am I feeding the machine at this point? But it's a blessing and a curse.
You're going to be telling Hazel Rose, you're going to be like, you need to stay off your phone. She's like, but you're on it all the time.
I know.
Like, yes,
I
but
know.
mine's for work.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the one who's paying for your steak and potatoes, Hazel Rose. Camelia, what's going on in the Capitol?
Oh, we are having a press conference this morning and then a Senate hearing for electric competition bills. Missouri in particular is really struggling with just producing our own energy, and we want to be an energy exporter rather than an importer. And so that means we've got to strengthen the grid, build more infrastructure. And so one of the ways to do that is to allow some competition into this monopolistic industry. And so that's what we're working on today. I'm going to tell you, though, last night, real quick, I almost forgot about this before when we were talking. We had an event in Jeff City on eliminating the income tax, had the bill sponsors there, had the Show Me Institute there. But what was so fun is that, I don't know if you remember Leslie Davis, but Leslie Davis came in and she said, I remember listening to you in Austin on the radio. And that's been a little bit, right? But she still remembered all that. And so it was really delightful to see some of the locals come out for that, including someone who asked if I was your sister.
We would be a great brother-sister team, wouldn't we, Camelia? We'd be unstoppable. We'll say you're an honorary Petersen.
There you go.
You, me, and Justin. Oh, I love it. Okay, so here's the good news, is that the income tax hearing is tomorrow in the Senate, and I thought I was going to have to cancel the show, but I don't have to because it starts at 10. So I will rush out of here tomorrow, right after the show, to get over to the Capitol, to be with you, to testify to abolish Missouri's income tax.
Yep.
I'll try not to act too excited, Camelia. How long should I expect to be able to speak in front of our illustrious senators tomorrow?
It's always a little bit unpredictable in the Senate. In the House, they're usually pretty strict at about 3 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
However, the Senate's a little different. If the room is packed, they might give a time limit, but I would say you could probably do 5 minutes. If they think there's going to be a ton of people and they don't have enough time, they might limit it, but that's probably a good average.
There we go. All right. So, Jesus, we have just been raising all kinds of crazy money today. You guys are so crazy good. Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Unbelievable generosity from our listeners. We will be here tomorrow. And then, Camelia, I guess we'll see you again on Thursday.
That's right.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Have a great day, everyone.
How do you say lemon in Japanese?
Lemon.
What about orange?
Orange.
How about melon?
Melon.
So watermelon is watermelon.
Suika.
Okay, what's raspberry?
Raspberry.
Blueberry?
Blueberry.
So strawberry has to be strawberry.
Ichigo.
Ichigo. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. Don't you guys love this show? Stay with me, my Uber CD water barare. It's the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen, and we've been having an absolute blast this morning. We've got incredible content. Yesterday, I spoke with one of the most prominent conservatives in Japan, Yoko Ishii. Yoko-san. We talked to her about Japanese-American relations. And you can hear that clip right now about cross-cultural exchange. Wake up, America. I'm Austin Petersen. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This weekend, a single post from a man from Japan who wanted to attend an American backyard barbecue turned into one of the most extraordinary cross-cultural moments that the internet has ever produced. But here's what made this story bigger than just a viral thread. The conversation that followed revealed something that the American left has been desperate to deny for 20 years, that the things Japan loves most about America are the things that progressives have spent 2 decades telling us to be ashamed of. My next guest has been making an argument like that from inside Japan for years. She's joining us live right now from Fukuoka City. She's a Japanese journalist, political activist, YouTube commentator, one of the closest major Japanese cities to the Asian mainland, and a place that understands the security stakes of this region in a way that Tokyo politicians sometimes forget. She's been featured by the BBC, Fox News Digital, Breitbart, and the South China Morning Post for her outspoken conservative views and her unapologetic support for the U.S.-Japan alliance. She's probably one of the most prominent Japanese conservative voices on Western social media, and she says Trump, and I love this, she calls him Trump Senpai. Yoko Ishii, Yoko-san. Ohayo gozaimasu from America, and konbanwa in Japan.
Ohayo gozaimasu. Konbanwa. Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Austin-san.
Thank you for being so generous with your time and joining us so late in the evening. Yoko, you were in Japan watching this weekend when this barbecue thread exploded across the platform. So when you saw hundreds of Americans opening their backyards to a Japanese stranger who just want to try their food, what did that feel like when you're seeing that from Fukuoka?
Oh, it was simply excitement. I was so excited to see that because I think I'm a bilingual. I speak both Japanese and English, and I've been seeing these things my entire life, right? And now the two words that were like separated now coming together, and like everyone is sharing the view that I was enjoying for a long time. So it's such a great situation.
Well, something changed in the algorithm. So what had occurred on X, at least from what I understand, is that there was some kind of a shift from the types of posts that were getting into the feeds of American users, specifically American conservatives, ran with this because, I don't know if you know this, but barbecue and cowboys and things like that, those are very conservative coded kinds of behaviors here in the United States. So I know that you probably understand the nuances of that, but do you think that most Japanese people understand what they're sort of endorsing when they get excited about Americans getting excited about meat?
I think the majority of people understand it, but I don't know how many of them understand the political side of it. But we do. I think that it's a general idea to know that there are different kinds of American people. Like if you look at New York or California or Texas, it's completely different. So yeah. And
I read a tweet.
Say, though,
go ahead.
Yeah, I have to say that people have loved, for example, like Terminator and all the 80s movie, like masculine men and big truck and guns. Like we love that sort of stuff, and we've enjoyed it, American, like a traditional type of American stuff.
Yeah, this is all considered to be right-wing coded in the United States, Yoko-san, because they were serious that the left, the Democrats in the United States, they say things like exercising are right-wing coded. So we now own huge chunks of meat, working out, being healthy, being on the outdoors, and we're fine with that. But I read a tweet earlier from a Japanese user who wrote, he loves ripped macho American men who spend their days eating huge slabs of meat and tearing around in muscle cars. But here's how he ended it. He ended it by saying, please don't let yourself get beaten down by DEI or SDGs. Stay just the way you are. That was an interesting comment. Do you think that there is a desire on behalf of some people in Japan for American culture to stay American culture? Or do you think that we should do what the libturds in the US want us to do, which is change everything about who we are fundamentally? What are your thoughts?
please do not change. Because when we look at America, like the things that you just explained, those are Americans to us. And yeah, it will be so sad to for those to disappear.
Well, there is a contingent of the American left who loves Japanese culture, but they're into the maybe more seedy side of Japanese culture, right? The less savory aspects of Japanese culture, right? They're into the maid cafes, but not for the fun cuteness. You know what I mean? So there's a fetishizing, but many of them, they're very left-coded. And when they see something like this cross-cultural exchange, and when Japan reaches across the Pacific into the backyard of your average home, backyard in the Midwest, Yoko-san, that makes many of them probably see red. They are deeply jealous of that they are deeply jealous of that relationship because it is not of their culture. What are your thoughts on that?
The interesting part of that is that when liberals in general, I think they believe in the world, like global community. But when seen from Japan, like traditional American people, they are the global community too. We are not gonna just eliminate the traditional American people only and then enjoy with the rest of the world. Like, it doesn't make sense. We want you guys included, and we really enjoy your culture too.
Thank you very much, Yoko-san. Arigatou gozaimasu. So there was a Japanese citizen named Captain Esso, and I want to read you his closing lines because I want to get your reaction as a Japanese woman hearing them. This was Donald Trump's Pearl Harbor comments when Takaichi visited the White House. This Japanese user said that for 80 long years, we Japanese have lived under a heavy shadow, the constant expectation to apologize, to reflect, to stay in guilt mode. The curse broke. Japan feels free to stand tall again. We don't want to be subordinates forever. We want to be your real partners, strong, proud, and loyal. Yoko, is he describing something real that the Japanese people actually feel?
Yes, like we want to be equal. We want to be tomodachi, meaning friends with the US. And just like you guys have white guilt, Japan, we have been imprinted with the war guilt of the World War II, and we were always taught to hate ourselves. And we also thought that the entire world hates us. So now, we, just like you are experiencing the welcoming mood of the Japanese people, we are so happy to see that no more American people they actually like Japan, and it's such a great surprise.
Yoko-san, you've been one of the loudest conservative voices in Japan for years, and that even back at a time when that was a lonely position to hold. What changed? Why did young Japanese voters suddenly decide that the most hardline conservative female candidate in a generation was exactly what they wanted?
I think that we have to give credit for Abe and Trump time, that they built the foundation of Japan-US alliance and the loving atmosphere. And we really liked that time. And then our leaders changed. And then we saw how it was precious back then, and we wanted to have that back. And the prime minister, right before Takaichi, Mr. Ishiba, was so horrible. He is a liberal figure in the ruling LDP, Liberal Democratic Party. So then we realized, no, we can't choose liberal guys like that anymore. We need somebody conservative who can be very strong against China and elsewhere and be a great friend of the US. So we picked Takaichi, and there you see all the great things happening.
Wonderful things happening. I was so enamored with the Iron Lady of Japan that I put her face and a dragon on some beautiful shoes, and I sell them all over the world. People love the Sanae Takaichi products, and people were giving me a hard time this last weekend because they're like, "Oh, Austin, you're just a filthy merchant." But the business exchange, they said, but the business, I know, but perhaps I have not created a corporation like Yamaha or Toyota, but the exchange of business between the United States and Japan is very important to both countries, isn't it?
Yes, I totally agree.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
there's a strong anti-capitalist vibe all over the world right now. And in the United States, even many on the right are sort of looking up their noses at merchant service and merchant behavior. They say that, capitalism is, because the United States is a very highly individualistic country. So there's a collectivist impulse, which is, sort of anti-capitalist at its base. And it, argues that we have to subvert the market, we have to restrict trade, and we have to restrict, exchange between nations like this because it harms our nation to have these cultural exchange. And of course, immigration is part of the backdrop of this one. It's not just goods and services that are crossing borders, it's also people. So now I want to ask you a question about immigration, and I want you to be completely direct with me, Yoko-san, because our audience can handle it. We have very thick skin here. Japan is dealing with a rapidly growing Muslim immigrant population, and it has tripled in under 20 years. And Japanese citizens in Saitama are marching in the streets demanding deportations. A Japan First Party just gained millions of new votes. And Takaichi's government tightened immigration rules 10 days before she called the election. She won in a landslide. The Western press here, they would call that xenophobia. What do you call it?
It is, I don't know the name for that, but I have to say that LDP, like Takaichi's party, they are both make the system more strict, and at the same time, they want to use foreign labor as or like a savior in a way, because we can't make babies all of a sudden. And we even though we have a good, healthy direction, we need to make sure that we survive in the meantime. And LDP is doing both things at the same time. So you have to analyze that more carefully. And also, though, in Japan, though, still the majority of people are Japanese still. And when the economy gets better, I think that Japanese people will have more babies. So that it's all about the population like ratio. So if Japanese people have more babies, then it will change. And if you look at South Korea, their birth rate was way worse than Japan, and they're quickly changing that due to the economic aid. So Japan can learn from stuff like that. Simultaneously, though, I have to say that there was this incident in Saitama, like Kawaguchi City, recently, that there was this right-wing guy protesting against some kind of festival or event that was happening, held by Kurdish people, and one of the Kurdish people actually punched the guy, and now I think it's like a police case. So things like that happen, and then social media like X on X and so on, we can share the information so people can just see what's happening, and then we can make a good judgment. So I'm not too pessimistic about it.
There's a phrase that went viral this weekend from a user named Kang Min Lee, who wrote, "Western right-wingers, people like us, that our deep admiration for the Japanese proves that they're not irrationally xenophobic. They simply dislike dysfunctional people from dysfunctional cultures." Yoko, you live in Japan. You follow Western conservative politics more closely than probably almost any Japanese citizen alive. You've been on both sides of that conversation for years. Is that a fair characterization of what is actually happening between Japan and America right now?
Can you summarize that again?
Sure. So that the idea that Western right-wingers, people, conservatives in the United States, that their admiration via barbecue culture for Japan, it proves that they're not irrationally xenophobic, meaning that they just dislike anyone in the world that's not American. We don't like people who are dysfunctional coming into our country from cultures that are dysfunctional, right? That's not xenophobic. That's just rational. Your thoughts?
Yes. Yes, that's common sense.
Yeah, no shit, as we say.
Yeah, in Japan, we just don't want to, like, we have rules for we have rules for reasons, like some reasons, and those reasons are to maintain a safe community where everybody is happy, and we have to make efforts for that. You don't get to just do whatever you want to form a community, or society, something that you need to make efforts to, make it a safe place. So you gotta obey the rules and everything.
Yoko-san, the left in America has spent years trying to export its cultural package globally. Things like gender ideology, DEI frameworks, climate guilt, the whole apparatus. Japan has largely rejected it, but the pressure is real, and it comes through institutions, through academia, through corporate culture. So how much pressure are ordinary Japanese people feeling in terms of like adopting American woke ideals, would you say?
I would say that we were experiencing the similar things, the push of political correctness and woke kind of thing as well. But the majority of people, we know it when it's like hypocrisy. And we can just see if people are actually pushing that, or they're just saying it as a fashion or for their political agenda. And some things just don't work, even if what they aim for is like conceptually good. It doesn't mean that it works in real life. And I think the Japanese people are just people of common sense, and I hope we will stay that way.
Yoko-san, you've described yourself as a conservative in the Japanese sense, which I think means protecting the emperor's bloodline, defending traditional Japanese culture, resisting the attempt to redefine what Japan is. So when you look at what Sanae Takeichi is doing right now, she's revising the pacifist constitution, building up the military, standing firm on Taiwan. Does this feel like a genuine civilizational turning point for Japan, or is this fragile?
Oh, I think it's like a concrete, like a real based direction that we all wanted. At least the conservative circle, we all wanted those things to happen, and we were waiting for it. And I think the like normal people are finally seeing the threats of everything, the ideology and physical threats like Chinese military expansion. So now I think our country is just coming back to the normal self as a nation.
Yoko-san, you've been called a MAGA hat-wearing outlier in Japan for years. The BBC covered you like you were a curiosity. Fox News treated you like an exotic specimen. But this weekend, what you have been saying for a decade suddenly became the most viral conversation on the internet. So what does it feel like to have been right the whole time while everyone around you was saying you are an embarrassment?
Thank you for saying that. It really makes me feel better. Yes, I was so lonely. So now everybody gets me. So I'm just so happy. I'm so glad I didn't give up. But at the same time, though, I have a big American following, so I have to thank American people.
For sure, Yoko-san. There is a strong cultural exchange, and I'm so thankful that we have met you, and you've been so generous with your time and sharing of your knowledge. Now, last question. What do you want Americans to understand about what Japan needs from America, and what is Japan prepared to give in return?
I want America to be America. America.
Done.
Yeah, like unapologetically, just be yourself, please, because we love you. And I just hope that we can bring, take Japan-US alliance to the next level.
Let's do it, Yoko-san. I'm glad to hear it. Listen, I've loved Japan all my life. And, I spent 20 years studying Japanese martial arts. I now teach Japanese martial arts in my small community. I'm the only teacher hundreds of miles around that teaches Japanese language and culture here in my little small town here in rural Missouri. So we're doing our part to help foster cultural relations. But I guess now what I need to do is to start a Japanese barbecue joint. And then...
Oh, yeah.
Please. Yoko-san, is there anything that you want to share or plug? Maybe you're writing a book or a website or a social media platform. Feel free to take the opportunity now.
Oh, thank you. I have a weekly live stream on YouTube. My channel is Random Yoko 2. It's a second channel, so 2. And also I'm active on X, so please follow me if you can.
Yoko-san, thank you very much. Hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
We're so grateful for your time. And we'll see you hopefully
thank you so much.
Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Cowboy and the Samurai.
アメリカでは最大規模の失業者の集まりがノーキングエブイベントを開催されています。
The time for silence is over. We will not be ignored. Let me thank all the organizations that have made this great event possible.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. Glad and thankful to have you here. I'm glad that you enjoyed the Yoko Ishii segment there, guys. Yes, there will be more of that to come as long as you guys continue to be as financially generous as you have been in the past and today. Phenomenal. Thank you guys so much for unlocking the bonus content. Both phases. We'll do the great grift off here in just a minute, but I got to talk about the Supreme Court birthright citizenship case. 1 week from today, on April 1st, the United States Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in a case that could fundamentally change who gets to be an American. And I want to make sure that when this decision comes down, probably late June, early July, right before the 250th anniversary of this country, you understand exactly what was at stake and why it matters. So the case is called Trump versus Barbara, and it's the next Roe v. Wade in terms of potential to split the country. Not over abortion this time, but over something even more fundamental. The question of who is an American. Here's the background. On his first day back in office, January 2025, President Trump signed Executive Order 14160, which directed federal agencies to stop issuing citizenship documents to children born on American soil to parents who are either in the country illegally or on temporary visas. The executive order has been blocked by every lower court that has looked at it, including one federal judge who said, and I quote, "No court in the country has ever endorsed the president's interpretation. This court will not be the first." The Supreme Court put this case on a very rare fast track, taking it up before the lower courts even finished their work, which tells you how seriously the justices understand the stakes in this case. And the stakes come down to 4 words in the 14th Amendment. 4 words. Subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So the 14th Amendment says all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. Trump's argument is that people here illegally or temporarily are not truly subject to the jurisdiction of the United States in the constitutional sense because they owe their primary allegiance to another country. The other side says that is nonsense, that anyone on American soil is subject to American jurisdiction. That's why you can arrest them, prosecute them, and deport them. And by the way, they have a point. You cannot tell someone they're subject to your jurisdiction when you put them in handcuffs and then tell them they're not subject to your jurisdiction when the baby is born down the hall. So the Trump administration is going to have to answer a very difficult question in front of 9 justices next Wednesday. And I want you to understand it's not a simple case because the history of this amendment is more complicated than either side admits. And the stakes are far higher than either side admits. The 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868, 3 years after the Civil War. Its explicit and undeniable purpose was to overturn the Dred Scott decision, which is one of the most evil rulings in Supreme Court history, which declared that black people born in America were not citizens and had no rights that white men were bound to respect. The men who wrote the 14th Amendment were trying to ensure that the freed slaves and their children would never again be stripped of their citizenship by a hostile state legislature. So that was the mission. That was the reason for the amendment's existence. Now, here's the legitimate question that Trump is putting before the court. Did the framers of that amendment intend to create a universal global birthright program? In 1868, when there was no federal immigration law at all, no illegal immigrants by definition, is it honest to say that men could not have contemplated the concept of illegal immigration intended to guarantee citizenship to the children of people here illegally? And that is an honest question, and the Supreme Court is going to have to give an honest answer. Now let's move out of the realm of legal theory, because I think the real reason this case matters, and the reason that reasonable people who care about both the Constitution and national security should take Trump's argument seriously, is not about people crossing the southern border in desperation to build a better life. It is about something far more calculated, far more organized, and far more dangerous. It is what China is doing with our birthright citizenship laws right now. Systematically, deliberately, and at an industrial scale. Let me give you a name. Guo Yuan. He is a 65-year-old Chinese businessman who has purchased more than $100 million in California real estate, more than 150 properties in Southern California alone. Now, back in China, he has served as for decades as a deputy of the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Regional People's Congress. That is a branch of the Chinese government's National People's Congress. In the United States, he holds senior leadership positions in organizations that are controlled by Chinese intelligence, including a body called the United Front Work Department, which is the CCP's primary foreign influence operation. And Guo Yuan had a hobby. He was running a surrogacy operation out of a $4.1 million mansion in Arcadia, California, using American women as surrogates to carry his embryos to term. Not just in California, but across the country, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Georgia. His company was called Mark Surrogacy Investment LLC. Look it up. And it functioned as, and this is the investigator's own description, a multi-state embryo pipeline. In May of 2025, a 2-month-old infant under Yuan's care was hospitalized with head injuries. When authorities responded, they found 15 children living in that mansion, ranging in age from 2 months to 13 years in total. Investigators, they connected 21 children to Yuan, all born through this coordinated multi-state surrogacy network. The surrogate mothers later said they had no idea that other women were simultaneously carrying children for the same couple. Neighbors had noticed pregnant women coming and going from the house for years. Yuan apparently told associates his goal was to have one of his American-born children become president of the United States. And here's the part that should stop your heart. Investigative journalist Peter Schweitzer, writing in his book, The Invisible Coup, estimates that between 750,000 and 1.5 million Chinese-born American citizens currently exist, raised in China, educated in CCP schools, indoctrinated in CCP values, and holding full American citizenship, eligible to vote in American elections, eligible to return to the United States at any time, and eligible to petition for their parents' residency when they turn 21. Schweitzer calls this the Manchurian generation, and he says the first wave starts hitting voting age in 2030. And Guo Yuan is not alone. Records in California show there are 107 companies with the word surrogacy in their name, all owned by Chinese nationals. One Chinese billionaire is reported to have over 100 children born in the United States through surrogacy. On top of all of that, more than 70% of the newborns in Saipan, an American territory in the Pacific, are born to Chinese parents exploiting a 45-day visa-free rule to guarantee American citizenship for their children. This is not a theory. This is not made up. This is a real operation. And our current interpretation of birthright citizenship is the mechanism that makes that possible. Now, here's what this is all about. The constitutional question and the China national security question are two different questions. You can believe that Trump's executive order is constitutionally problematic, perhaps, but still believe that Congress needs to act on the China surrogacy operation immediately. That's not in conflict. But what is in conflict, the idea that we should just do nothing, just keep rubber stamping birth certificates without asking a single question, while a foreign adversary industrializes the process of manufacturing American citizens. So Where do you come down on this, right, Austin? I think you deserve a straight answer and not just a catalog of arguments here. But, I'm a libertarian by philosophy. I do believe in an open society and the rule of law and the Constitution as it's written. Here's where there's an honest tension that lives. The 14th Amendment's text is genuinely broad. The Supreme Court's 1898 decision in United States versus Wong Kim Ark, which is the controlling precedent, held that children born in the United States to resident aliens are citizens. And that ruling has stood for 100 years. Overturning it by executive order alone, I think, is a mistake because we should embed the change in the law. Because if a president can just redefine citizenship by executive order, I don't think that is a power that I truly want any president to have, Republican or Democrat. But the part of me that says that national sovereignty is real, citizenship means something. A country that cannot define its own membership is not really a country. And the evidence that a foreign adversary is systematically manufacturing American citizens as a strategic operation changes this entire conversation. This is not the same as somebody crossing the border, pregnant and desperate. This is a state-sponsored program to exploit a legal loophole in our Constitution for geopolitical advantage. And the people who wrote the 14th Amendment, the men who bled through the Civil War to give freed slaves their rights, would not have recognized this as what they intended. Now, what should actually happen? Trump's distinction in his executive order is the right one in principle. Between lawful permanent residents and people here illegally or temporarily, the children of green card holders should be citizens. That is settled. The children of people here on tourist visas for the express purpose of giving birth, and certainly the children of people here illegally, that's where the argument is really its strongest. Those people should not be citizens. The cleanest way to fix this is not an executive order, it's congressional legislation. And ultimately, if the interpretation needs to change, we should have a constitutional amendment for this. A decision will come in June or July. Just in time for the 4th of July, guys. Yay. Just in time for America's 250th birthday. There's kind of a poetic weight, don't you think, to the timing that I don't think is lost on anybody. So we're about to ask one more time the question this country has been wrestling with since its founding. Who is an American and what does that word mean? Who is your daddy and what does he do? The men who wrote the Declaration of Independence declared all men are created equal. The men who wrote the 14th Amendment died to make that promise real for people it was denied to. Now we have to decide whether the promise they made can survive being exploited by the enemies of everything they built. I don't think those framers would have trouble answering that question. I think they would tell us that citizenship is not a loophole. It's a covenant, and covenants have conditions. It's time for the great grift off. Get to the chopper. Who wants to play? You want to play? How about an Easter party? Who wants to play the Great Grift Off? Liberty Loot Live is now live. We can take up to 50 players. We're playing for real prizes. Head to crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. Exactly, Luddick Lore. These kids turned majority age voting. What happened exactly 18 years before that? Great question, Luddick Lore. I implore you to join us in the minigame, crowdparty.app. We're going to have a little Easter party in your Easter bonnet with all the frills upon it. We'll have a little Easter parade. Go to crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. Head on over, join the game. We're all going to play a little Easter party. If you could live in any period of history, when would it be? This is the Great Grift Off. It is a game show. This show went from a commentary news show to a live game show immediately because you all unlocked this bonus content. Your financial generosity has allowed me to give something back to you. Now we're going to play a little mini game, and everybody who joins is going to have a chance to win a nice little prize from the Grift Shop. Head on over to crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. This is a fun little way for us to give back to you. To you. Not me, it's you. Go to crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. Join the game. It's the Great Grift Off. I'm going to do a 30-second countdown. Right now, there's a 1 in 3 chance of winning first prize, which is something nice from the Grift Shop. Go to crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. Type in the code 08927. The code is 08927 at crowdparty.app. You also see that QR code on the screen, guys? That little QR code. You can take a picture of that QR code and it will take you straight into the game. I've got 4 players. I can take up to 50 players if you join live right now. I'll give you the 30-second countdown and we're going to start the game. The Easter party will begin in 30 seconds. Ooh, Lutta got in just in time. Oh, Captain Tight Pants. 10 seconds to join the game. Easter party has begun. Get ready. We'll play 12 rounds of trivia. Get the right answer. Easter's date is determined by what? Is it leap year, the moon, the zodiac year, or the North Star? The moon? In the Bible, how many days has passed between Jesus' death and resurrection? Everybody got it right. Y'all are some Christians up in here. Some good Christians. St. Selma's the best Christian, number 1. In the UK, what spiced bun marked with a cross is traditionally eaten on Good Friday? Also a very popular song played on a recorder. Hot cross buns. I've got some hot cross buns for you. No, God. Rock, paper, scissors, a little mini game. Rock, paper, scissors. Ooh, scissors. St. Selma's still on top, but Captain Tight Pants giving her a run for her money. Get the right answer. How many jelly beans are consumed in the U.S. during Easter season? Good God, how could we possibly know that? 16 billion and nobody got it. Womp womp. But Captain Tight Pants was the least harmed. What year was the first Cadbury cream egg sold? Dang, how long have those things been around? 1959, 1983, 1971, or 1992? 71. That's what I would have guessed. But 59? 59? No, not that old. What was the first company to make chocolate Easter eggs in 1875? Was it Hershey's, Nestle, Cadbury, or Lindt? Ooh, these are good questions. Frank and Beans missed it. He was up on the ladder. Hey, Frank and Beans, appreciate you, bud. Talk to you soon. Round 8 of 12 trivia. Get the right answer. If you do this during Easter, you will get good luck for the rest of your life. If you wear new clothes, run a 5K, find a bunny, or eat Easter eggs. Trivia. Get the right answer. What part of the chocolate bunny do most people eat first? The ears. Yes. Good questions. It's a little Easter trivia game. Captain Tight Pants, feeling strong. Number 1, mines. Find the diamonds, avoid the bombs. See, this is where Captain Tight Pants could be brought low. The most popular color of marshmallow peeps? Ooh, man, what's a good question? Probably, I would say yellow. I'm going to guess yellow is the most popular color of marshmallow peeps. I have no idea. It is. It's yellow. Oh, who said red? You idiot. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Last round of trivia. Here it is. Let's see who comes out on top with a $20 gift card to the shop. What is 40-day period of fasting and penance before Easter called? All right, Christians. It's Lent. Yes. Somebody said Advent and somebody said Pentecost. Get on out of here. Let's see who the winner is. It was Captain Tight Pants. Selma, you came close. So close, Selma. Wow, that was a great game. Honestly, good questions. All right, guys. Put on your Easter bonnet with all your frills upon it. Have a wonderful Easter day. We will be back tomorrow. I didn't realize that the income tax hearing was later, so I'll be able to do the show tomorrow. We will be here, but today's Tuesday. You know what that means? The 4 Liberty Network's blowing up all over the place. Mylene Salavaria's Cafecito Libre live today, 3 p.m. Central. Then don't forget to watch Daniela Pensac, 7 p.m. Central for Culturama. We've got 5 stinking shows on this network. I don't know if there's enough time to watch them all, but do your best. And remember that we're fighting for the American dream here. We're fighting for individual liberty, limited government. We're building something special and we're building something real. And it's thanks to people like you. So thank you. We'll give a little bit back. In order to get your gift card, you got to send us a little text message, 573-319-1586. Captain Tight Pants, identify yourself by sending us a text message and we'll send you your gift card to the shop, bud. Hope you enjoy it. Don't spend it all in one place. Oh, wait, it's a gift card. You have to spend it in one place. We'll see you guys right back again here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show, and that's on the 4 Liberty Network. Fortress town of Magdeburg, Prussia, on September 17, 1730, a boy entered the world destined to whip a ragged rebel army into a fighting force that could stand against the might of Britain. Friedrich Wilhelm Ludolf Gerhard Augustin von Steuben, later known to Americans as Baron von Steuben, was the son of a Royal Prussian military engineer. At 17, he joined the Prussian army, fought like a demon through the brutal 7 Years' War under Frederick the Great, rose to captain, served on the general staff, and learned the iron discipline and precise maneuvers that made Prussian troops the terror of Europe. Wounds, scandals, and peacetime left him unemployed and nearly broke by his mid-40s. But across the Atlantic, a revolution was calling. In 1777, with help from Benjamin Franklin in Paris, the out-of-work Prussian officer offered his sword to the American cause. He sailed from France in September aboard a ship paid for by the French government, bringing his Italian greyhound Azor, a French cook, aides, and a burning desire for glory and pay after the war. He landed in Portsmouth, New Hampshire in December, then made his way south through cheering crowds who saw in him a polished European general. On February 23, 1778, the stocky, fur-robed baron rode into the frozen hell of Valley Forge. What he found horrified him. Nearly 12,000 Continental soldiers huddled in crude log huts, half naked, starving, dying of disease and exposure. No uniform drill, no standard commands, no sanitation, no discipline. Muskets were handled like farm tools, bayonets were decoration. Men drilled according to 3 different manuals, or not at all. Washington greeted the volunteer warmly and made him temporary Inspector General. Steuben wasted no time. He chose 100 of the smartest, toughest men from the Commander-in-Chief's Guard and began drilling them personally on the snowy parade ground. No translator could keep up with his thunderous Prussian oaths, so he swore in French, German, and broken English while his aides translated. He simplified the manual of arms from dozens of complex movements to just 10 essential ones. He taught them to march in step at 120 paces per minute, to load and fire faster, to form lines and columns instantly, and, most importantly, to charge with the bayonet like Prussian veterans. He cursed, demonstrated, laughed, raged, and drilled until the model company moved like one machine. Then he sent them out to train the rest of the army in cascading waves. Day after day through snow and mud, the Baron stomped across the frozen fields, sleeves rolled up, showing officers and enlisted men alike how real soldiers fought. He also attacked the filth and waste that killed more men than British bullets. He laid out proper camp sanitation, reorganized supply lines, and wrote the first standard regulations for the Continental Army. With help from aides like Pierre Duponceau and Benjamin Walker, and illustrations by Pierre-Charles L'Enfant, he produced regulations for the order and discipline of the troops of the United States, the famous Blue Book. Congress approved it in 1779, and it guided the U.S. Army through the War of 1812. The results came fast. In May 1778, the Army paraded smartly to celebrate the French alliance. When they marched out of Valley Forge in June, they were no longer a mob of farmers, they were soldiers. At the Battle of Monmouth on June 28th, the disciplined Continentals stood toe-to-toe with British regulars in brutal heat, trading volleys and charges that would have broken the old army. Steuben's bayonet training proved decisive later at Stony Point, where American troops stormed British works with unloaded muskets and cold steel alone. Steuben served as Inspector General and Washington's trusted advisor for the rest of the war. He trained troops in the South under Nathaniel Greene, commanded a division at the Siege of Yorktown in 1781, and watched Cornwallis's redcoats march out to surrender. His steady hand helped turn raw courage into professional victory. After the war, Congress granted him land and a modest pension, but never the fortune he hoped for. He retired to a farm in the Mohawk Valley of New York, never married, and died there on November 28, 1794. He was buried with military honors. Baron von Steuben was no flawless saint and no towering battlefield hero. He swore like a Prussian drill sergeant, exaggerated his rank for dramatic effect, and loved the good life. But when the American army was on the brink of collapse in that frozen winter of 1778, this stout, fiery European volunteer marched onto the parade ground, cursed in 3 languages, and forged a rabble into an army. From the snows of Valley Forge to the smoke of Yorktown, his Blue Book and iron discipline helped win a revolution and gave the United States its first professional military foundation. The drill echoes still. Every time an American soldier snaps to attention or charges with the bayonet, the ghost of the old Prussian baron is marching right beside him. George Washington spent 8 years making sure nobody knew where he was. Troop movements, secret dispatches. The man was a ghost. So when a barista leaned out a window and asked for his exact location in exchange for points they called stars, he looked at his flag and said, "I've already got my stars. 13 of them." Keep your dignity and your location intact. Grab a box of Washington's Revolutionary Roast at 4libertyshop.com.